Though it may have taken Sony Pictures Animation some time to find their footing, they've created some great heroes, from the heartfelt and goofy to the noble and incredibly heroic. But out of Sony's animated heroes, which are the strongest and most powerful? Hey guys, I'm Brad with Wicked Binge, and this is Sony Animation Heroes, Weak to Powerful. Like with our previous Weak to Powerful videos, we're not just considering physical strength or power. We're also incorporating intelligence, durability, resources, and wins into each hero's ranking. With that said, it's time to start our list. And naturally, we're starting with our weakest Sony animation hero, Jean from the Emoji Movie. Yeah, this placement was kind of a given. Even if we were to be generous and scale Jean to quote-unquote human size, Jean is still only an emoji.
I can be meh. Just give me one more chance.
Besides his ability to display multiple emotions at once, he doesn't have any notable powers or strengths. He's a good dancer, and he can withstand being burned by a firewall multiple times, but that's about it. For these reasons, we had to rank him dead last. The silver medal of weakness is going to the surfing penguin, Cody Maverick. As a rock hopper penguin, Cody already has a size and strength disadvantage compared to our other competitors. We also see through his brief fight with Tank that he's pretty weak by penguin standards too.
I'm gonna chum the water with your head.
But if there's one thing that Cody knows how to do, it's surfing, which in itself is a pretty athletic sport that requires a decent amount of arm strength and stamina. Unfortunately, that's all that Cody has going for him, so he ranks low on our list. For our bronze medal of weakness, we have Beau from The Star. Before meeting with Mary and Joseph, Beau was a simple milling donkey.
Come on, wait! This doesn't happen every day.
Certainly a hard job, though not necessarily extraordinary. Still, we had to hand it to Beau, being so small yet still so strong. Beau is also strong enough to carry a pregnant Mary on his back, taking her all the way to Bethlehem. And of course, we can't forget about Beau's donkey kick. So yeah, Beau's got some things going for him. Since his skills are more versatile than Cody's, we felt that we had to rank Beau above him, even if he can't really compare to some of the other animal characters in Sony's repertoire. And speaking of other animal characters, up next is a musical kinkajou, Vivo. While Vivo is an impressive musician and is great at keeping rhythm, those aren't exactly skills that can be used in a fight. Thankfully, despite Vivo's small size, this little guy is not completely defenseless. He's very fast and is great at climbing, which allows him to get the better of opponents like the snake Ludador. Of course, something like that requires strategy, so it stands to reason that Vivo is intelligent. However, one of Vivo's biggest weaknesses is his tendency to panic in situations, and we can't forget how small and weak he is physically. But hey, we can't deny that he's a good singer and percussionist.
Here? It's beautiful, right?
Next is Open Season's Elliott. Let's get this out of the way. Elliott is a dork, to put it nicely. Because of this, he tends to come off as unimpressive, but we feel that's unfair. Though he's not the strongest deer around, Elliott does have a lot of speed, which makes sense since he's a deer. Elliott is a good leader, as we see him lead the animals of the forest against a group of hunters and come up with ideas like jackrabbit slingshots. Not bad for a dork. Still, it's Elliott's lack of physical strength and his inability to use his antlers that keeps him from going any higher on our list.
Half doe, half buck. I'm a duck.
Leadership skills are admirable and can certainly be powerful, but Elliott isn't the only leader on this list. Speaking of which, from the forest to Bird Island, next is Red. There's a reason why Red is considered Bird Island's greatest hero. Compared to the other birds, Red is smart and strategic. He's able to figure out the pigs' plan before anyone else, and is able to lead the birds to victory. As we see in the sequel, he doesn't have enough of an ego to refuse to hand over leadership if the situation calls for it, which is definitely a good thing. And Red has a few allies, which gives him a decent advantage. Looking at Red on his own, although he's stout and not exactly muscular, Red is still strong and has both wrestling and fighting skills. And we can't forget his durability either, as it takes a pretty strong bird to be able to break through a castle roof. He may not be a mighty eagle, but he has enough to him to make his way up to the middle of our list. We finally reach our first human character, Jonathan from Hotel Transylvania. In a way, Johnny is kind of like a human Elliott. He may be silly and goofy a lot of the time, but he knows how to step up when he needs to. When it comes to socializing, Johnny is practically a genius. This allows him to quickly gain allies in the first movie, making him the talk of the hotel and winning the monsters over despite being eventually revealed to be a human. And we also can't forget about Johnny's sweet DJing skills. While not the most useful skill in most situations, his ability to pick the perfect songs that could then counteract Hellsing's evil dubstep still saved the day in the end. Johnny can also be decent on a scooter, as seen in the first movie, and at the very least, tries to fight alongside his family. Of course, not having any supernatural powers or abilities outside of his temporary monster form puts him at a huge disadvantage, and his quote-unquote martial arts is often seen as a joke.
That's right, you better fly away!
But as we've said before, power is more than just a character's physical abilities or fighting skills. Johnny's win in the third movie also boosted his ranking. Next is the most recent Santa of the North Pole, Arthur Claus. Much like Johnny, Arthur's core strength comes not from his core strength, but from his connections. Being the new Santa Claus, Arthur has access to a whole fleet of elves and a modern-day sleigh that's pretty much just a spaceship. Given that the elves are essentially spies in this film, we can infer that they have great stealth skills as well as decent self-defense skills. Arthur also has his family, and while his father and grandfather may not be the brightest bulbs on the Christmas tree, his brother Steve is very smart and efficient.
Could you please type faster?
Though these skills may not make Steve a good Santa, it still makes him a good ally. But we can't shortchange Arthur himself, as while he may be scrawny and clumsy, Arthur has some great skills of his own. Don't let his silly exterior fool you. Arthur is intelligent and has a great memory, and we certainly can't forget about his strong determination when it came to getting Gwen's present to her. All these things make Arthur a powerful character, even if he doesn't have the magical Santa powers of legends. Following him, we have Rick Mitchell. Being the head of the Mitchell family, Rick is a man of nature at heart. He's a fan of hunting and trapping, woodworking, crafting, fixing things, and taxidermy. Through these hobbies, Rick has a few skills and abilities that we see throughout the film's robot apocalypse. One of his most notable traits is that he always carries around a No. 3 Robertson head non-slip screwdriver, which comes in handy more than once. Though it takes some trial and error, it's also Rick's skills that help the family defeat the rabid tech in the Colorado Mall. He also succeeds in trapping the giant Furby, even if he doesn't have the strength to lift it up himself. Rick is able to briefly overcome his aversion to technology in order to save the day, plus he has great aim with a laser blaster. And who could forget the greatness that is the Rick Mitchell special? What stops him from being ranked any higher? Honestly, it's his age and his cautiousness. Being a middle-aged man, he's probably at average strength and has some of the limitations that come with being of an older age.
How do I look? Be honest.
As for his cautiousness, he doesn't always come off as the bravest, and it sometimes takes people like Kate to push him into taking action. Still, these flaws are fairly minor and don't overshadow the power that can be found in the upper half of our list. Next is his daughter, Katie Mitchell. While Rick might have outranked her in our good to most good video, Katie just barely squeezes past her father in this list. When the robot apocalypse breaks out, Katie is the first in her family who's willing to fight the hordes of evil robots and is probably the most active fighter of her family, frequently coming up with plans that usually work. Along with being strategic, Katie has plenty of her own intelligence when it comes to tech, given that she was able to use the robot's inability to tell what kind of creature Monchi was to her advantage. Katie also shares her father's laser blasting and driving skills, since she was able to fight alongside him in the skies and eventually perform the Rick Mitchell special successfully. While maybe not as physically strong as her father, it's Katie's impressive array of skills and her strong will that allows her to shine.
I'm not just a human. I'm a Mitchell!
In an impressive feat, here's where we find Flint Lockwood. With many of Sony's human characters being lanky and not too physically strong, it's no wonder that Flint's intelligence gave him enough of an advantage to make it into the upper half of the list. Flint is resourceful and adaptable, and is able to turn any sort of tech into amazing inventions.
What do you guys want for breakfast?
Though he isn't a great liar, he's still clever enough to think on his feet to figure out solutions to problems, and is even able to briefly trick Officer Earl. Along with his intelligence and his determination, Flint is also surprisingly agile. There's no better example of this than the spaghetti tornado scene in the first Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, where he's able to jump through the spaghetti tornado, bouncing off all the debris and eventually landing safely. Definitely impressive. He's also shown to be a decent snowball fighter when he makes it snow ice cream, despite it being his first time being in a snowball fight. Flint may be a nerd, but he's a powerful and pretty cool nerd. Next is the pirate captain. Although he isn't very smart and has no hope of outmatching our top 3 in terms of physical strength, the pirate captain has enough going for him to put him above most other Sony characters. Working on a pirate ship will give you muscle, as will dealing with the various dangers of the ocean. The pirate captain is not only armed with his trusty cutlass, but also has an entire pirate crew willing to fight by his side. As for when he was fighting solo, the pirate captain was able to hold his own pretty well against Queen Victoria, before eventually being outmatched. Finally, while not a genius by any means, the pirate captain seems to have decent street smarts, being able to think on his feet. I mean, who could forget all his great disguises? He may not look particularly impressive on the surface, but this pirate captain does have a trick or two up his sleeve. Entering our top 5, we have Din Song from Wish Dragon. While having access to a wish-granting dragon is powerful, it was only a temporary resource for Din, given that Long can no longer serve him. As such, we felt that we couldn't really incorporate it into our ranking. But even without that, Din makes it pretty far up the power scale. Looking at Din himself, he's a kind and fun-loving young man. He's determined, especially when it comes to reuniting with his childhood best friend, Lena. It's also said that Din has a pure heart, which, while not the most powerful, is still admirable.
Stay away from my friend.
Additionally, the film's final battle showed that he was able to keep his martial arts master skills, and though he's still a novice and still had trouble fighting pockets, it isn't far-fetched to think that Din would be able to become a great fighter, given that he already has the reflexes. Just outside the podium of power is the protector of the forest, Boog. This bear is all about kicking some hunter bahuki, and we think it's safe to say that Boog is just as strong, if not stronger, than your average grizzly. With just one claw, Boog was able to free Elliott from the ropes that were keeping him tied to Shaw's car. Boog also participated in the battle against the hunters and was a great asset. When it comes to weapons, he's pretty great with a golf club. He was strong enough to tie up Shaw with his own gun. But while Boog certainly has a ton of muscle and bulk, we can't say that he's very skilled. After all, before Boog got the upper hand in their one-on-one fight, Shaw was giving him quite a bit of trouble, and Boog needed a bit of outside assistance.
Where's home? It's gone!
He's still a mighty grizzly, but he isn't strong enough to be our most powerful. Earning the Bronze Medal of Power is none other than Peter B. Parker. One of the 2 Spider-Men on our list, Peter B. is a powerful superhero in his own right. Like other incarnations, Peter B. has web shooters, the ability to stick to walls, spider super strength and durability, great acrobatic abilities, high intelligence, and of course, his spider sense. Peter B. is also able to keep a calm and cool head under pressure, and is clever enough to get himself out of situations where he might otherwise be trapped.
Relax your fingers. We don't have time.
Being in his 40s, Peter B. also has a ton of experience that can give him an advantage in a fight. What can we say? He's Spider-Man. Of course he was going to land a spot towards the top of our list. However, we felt that we couldn't call him our most powerful Spider-Man. The Silver Medal of Power goes to Miles Morales. Miles, admittedly, had a bit of a rough start when it came to using and adjusting to his new spider powers. For the longest time, Miles couldn't even use certain abilities on command. Thankfully, by the time the first Spider-Verse film ends, Miles was able to show just how powerful he was. Along with all the other powers and abilities we just mentioned Peter B having, Miles also has a couple extra abilities that can really give him the edge in a fight, namely his camouflage ability.
Can Spider-Man turn invisible?
Not in my universe.
Which allows him to blend in and make it seem like he's invisible, and his electrical Venom Strike attack. This move is especially powerful, as it was strong enough to knock Peter B unconscious, destroy Peter B webs, and defeat Kingpin. Although it was a close call due to his extra abilities, we feel that we had to ultimately rank Miles above Peter B. But there is still one other character that ranks above him. Our Gold Medal of Power goes to Hotel Transylvania's Dracula. Though he's a lot goofier and cartoonier than the Dracula of Legends, Drac still has many of the usual vampire powers and abilities, making him a real powerhouse that would have no problems wiping out the rest of the competition in a hypothetical fight against the other characters on our list. Drac is strong, durable, and insanely fast. He was able to run across an entire town in seconds, and he was strong enough to defeat Bella and his army of bat monsters. Drac was also able to go toe-to-toe with a giant kraken, although that fight ultimately ended in a loss. Still, he lasted longer than a normal person would. His hypno powers can put any human into a trance, provided that they're not wearing contact lenses. Drac is also able to essentially freeze people, even if they're in the middle of a free fall. His transformation powers allow him to turn into a bat, which gives him the ability to fly, as well as a wolf. We also can't forget Drax's cleverness, given how many times that he was able to outwit Van Helsing.
When will you Van Helsings ever learn to let go of the hate?
What really earned Drac our top spot was his durability. In the third movie, Drac is able to take arrows and other sharp projectiles directly without even flinching. Doesn't even slow him down. And unlike many other vampires who would likely completely turn to ashes in the sun, Drac was able to withstand the sunlight for at least an hour or so, healing from his sunburns fairly quickly. Anyone who can essentially walk off one of their so-called ultimate weaknesses more than earns the title of most powerful Sony Animations character. Alright guys, that's the list. Let us know in the comments section if you agree with our ranking, and tell us what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge our Weak to Powerful playlist, where we break down who the most powerful characters are in your favorite cartoons, shows, and movies. But most importantly, stay wicked.